Tanse. Good afternoon. I'm Krisanachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. More than 200 fire crews, including 100 firefighters from British Columbia, are continuing their battle against wildfires in northwestern Ontario as more than 800 residents of the Wabaseemoong Independent Nation have been evacuated. Wabaseemoong is about 100 kilometers northwest of Kenora. It is made up of 3 main communities. Most of the evacuees were flown to Niagara Falls, with a couple dozen sent to Winnipeg. As of today, crews have installed sprinklers in the community to keep the fires from spreading to homes. On Sunday, Wabaseemoong Chief Waylon Scott said the fires were less than a kilometer away from the community. Fire crews continue to fight the large Kenora 20 fire, putting out hot spots throughout this week. Much of their focus is also on the west side of Malachie Lake, but they are worried that high winds expected later this week will fan the flames and make matters worse. Chief Scott says Wabaseemoong has experienced 3 evacuations and 6 emergencies since 2019. Now to the east coast in Prince Edward Island, where the Lennox Island First Nation is accusing the Department of Fisheries and Oceans of illegally seizing lobster traps that are supposed to be protected by treaty. Lennox Island is on the east coast of Prince Edward Island. In a statement posted on Sunday, Chief Darlene Bernard said their fishery was launched 3 years ago under a self-governed management plan, and they were proceeding with the same numbers of traps used without incident last year. She said despite open communication and sustainable fishing, DFO seized lobster traps in an aggressive enforcement action. Chief Bernard is demanding the immediate return of the seized gear and called on the DFO to end its enforcement campaign and return to meaningful dialogue. The DFO says they granted Lennox Island a one-time authorization of up to 1,000 traps this spring, but found the First Nation was in contravening the Fisheries Act. In a statement, Chief Bernard added, "The federal government continues to speak from both sides of its mouth. On one hand, it recognizes our treaty right. On the other, it seizes our traps when we exercise that right. If Canada is serious about reconciliation, it must stop criminalizing Mi'kmaq rights and start supporting them. We will defend our treaty rights by any and all peaceful means necessary." Ontario's Doug Ford government unveiled its 2025 budget last week. There were a number of items aimed at improving First Nations participation in resource development. In particular, the development of the Ring of Fire. It's an area in the northern part of the province known for its rich and critical minerals essential to the electric car industry. Ontario's finance minister tabled the $232.5 billion budget, which includes $11.9 million for something known as the Mattawa Broadband Project. It will upgrade telecommunication services for 5 First Nations in the Ring of Fire area. There is also a $3 billion Indigenous Opportunities Program. It aims to increase participation in electricity, critical minerals, and resource development. The government is also investing $70 million over 4 years in the Indigenous Participation Fund to support Indigenous community participation in regulatory processes and the development of high mineral areas. Another $10 million over 3 years will go towards scholarship opportunities for First Nations students interested in pursuing careers in resource development. This past weekend, the inaugural Mass of Pope Leo XIV took place at the Vatican in Rome. Some Indigenous groups from Canada are now calling on the new Pope to return cultural and spiritual artifacts they say belong to them. The Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations in Saskatchewan issued a statement to Pope Leo calling for the return of sacred items on display in the Vatican Museum or stored in its archives. These items include stone pipes, medicine bundles, and ceremonial regalia. Métis National Council President Victoria Pruden is traveling to attend the inaugural Mass over the weekend. She is urging the Vatican to work with the Métis to identify which items belong to them. Both groups say returning the items is a critical step toward repairing the harms caused by church-run residential schools. Assembly of First Nations National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepanak also made the trip to Rome for Pope Leo's inaugural Mass. A woman has been charged after Whitehorse RCMP seized a shipment of drugs and alcohol last week that was headed to a dry community in northern Yukon. The RCMP was contacted by Airline Air North about a cargo shipment destined for Old Crow on May 6th. The shipment contained several bottles of liquor and crack cocaine. Old Crow is an isolated fly-in community that's home to the Vuntut Gwich'in First Nation, and liquor is banned in the community. 47-year-old Kashi Marie Williams of Whitehorse is charged with possession for the purpose of trafficking and attempt to send liquor to a place where it may not be lawfully kept. Her first court appearance is July 9th in Whitehorse. The drugs and liquor were confiscated and will be destroyed. For the third time in less than 2 weeks, a whale has washed up on BC's coast. This time it's in Port McNeill, and it's a species rarely seen in northern waters. A warning that some images in the story may be graphic. CTV's Anna McMillan reports.
When scientists rushed to Port McNeill Bay to secure a whale that washed ashore, they weren't quite sure what they were looking at.
We sure were confused when we came down here.
Confused because it's a Brutus whale, which researchers say has never been seen in BC waters.
The rarest of the rare can come into an area where there's all kinds of people who know whales, and it took somebody walking their dog to find the whale.
That discovery was made on Wednesday. The local Namgis First Nation honored the whale during a ceremony.
These animals are more, subtropical, so really important to document, and we'll be looking at the stomach to see what's there.
By this afternoon, there wasn't much left of the whale after scientists took samples to determine the cause of death.
The animal looked like it was in suboptimal body condition. The blubber was thinned, the muscle is quite pale, which would suggest that there was a negative energy state, and this is not unusual for an animal that would normally be in south of California.
Brutus whales can grow to roughly 16 meters, and while this young male looks large, it isn't even half that size.
We really wanted to come out and collect a suite of tissues that we can pursue some diagnostic studies on, as well as samples for research purposes as well.
In recent days, 2 gray whales have been found dead, one near Tofino and another on Haida Gwaii.
This isn't an indicator of whales are going to wash up dead all over the place. It's an indicator of how important citizen science is, and knowing what to do, and the opportunity to learn and make it count, and do the appropriate thing as well by working with local nations.
She says Namgis First Nation is gifting the skeleton to the Whale Interpretive Center in Telegraph Cove, which was destroyed in a fire late last year.
We're pretty sure we're going to have a new building next year at this time at Telegraph, and so it'll be one of the first ones to go in there, and a rare one it is.
That, paired with the unique research opportunity, is what the team here says is making the whale's death count. Anna McMillan, CTV News.
We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. We have more news for you after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. A Mi'kmaq woman is graduating from law school with an award recognizing her activism. Suzanne Patel is a rights activist who was once named on the RCMP's watch list as she was part of the 2013 anti-fracking protests in New Brunswick. APTN's Angel Moore reports.
Suzanne Patlas has a long history of activism. She participated in the anti-fracking protest in New Brunswick back in 2013 near the Elsipogtog Mi'kmaq Nation. She was named on an RCMP threat list and was charged 3 times for mischief and obstruction, but she represented herself and the charges were later dropped.
I was in court every other day, so I knew I had the skills to be in a courtroom and to be able to braid law together, but I didn't have the intricate knowledge that you receive from that institution, and I didn't have, I couldn't do it for anybody else.
Patlas is from the Eskasoni First Nation in Unumagi, Mi'kmaq for Cape Breton. She has advocated for Mi'kmaq rights since 2011 to protect the water there. Patlas also worked with Elder Daniel Paul for the removal of the statue of Edward Cornwallis in Halifax in 2018. Cornwallis was a British military general who issued bounties on the Mi'kmaq in the mid-1700s. Patlas realized a law degree would be useful to protect Mi'kmaq rights in the courtroom.
I wanted to be able to understand more of those legalities and legalese and to be able to really be in those rooms when those decisions are being made, because I was able to push my way around, but getting this degree will open more doors and more opportunities for me.
Patlas is graduating from Dalhousie Law School later this spring. She is this year's recipient of the Donald Marshall Jr. Memorial Award from the Schulich School of Law. The award is to recognize a law student who raises awareness and works for social justice and criminal reform. It is named after Donald Marshall Jr. In 1982, he was exonerated for a 1971 murder conviction resulting in the Marshall Inquiry, which found systemic racism led to Marshall's conviction. The inquiry led to changes in Nova Scotia's justice system, such as an increased diversity in public law schools.
So this is just an award that, really brings together all of those things that, that institutions such as the law school recognizes that, and that's really important, and it's really heartwarming to be recognized under his name.
Patlas will article in a law firm next year before taking the bar exam. She hopes to work at an Indigenous law firm and have an office in her community. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Eskasoni First Nation.
Now to Australia, where traditional owners say they're devastated by the Queensland government's decision to build Brisbane's Olympic Stadium on one of the most culturally significant sites in the city. Victoria Park or Barrambin was once an Indigenous settlement of great importance and a meeting place for cultural practices. Here's NITV's Michael Rennie with more.
The sounds of the Yidaki echoing once more across this sacred site in Brisbane.
It's significant to the Waka people, the Gubbi people, the Quandamooka people, and the Malanjali people. Yeah, I say it's got a lot of significance, not just to the traditional owners here.
Victoria Park, or Barrambin, means the windy place. It's an area of great cultural importance.
This area is just too significant to dismiss.
It had the major camps because it was an intertribal meeting place. So it had a lot of activity here.
Where the Eka Oval is, we used to do pullum, where we used to do more or less like the Olympic Games.
Auntie Sandy King used to call this park home.
We had lakes going through here, with turtles and everything else that you can think of, all sorts of fish.
She lived here with her parents when she was born in the 1950s.
We had a unit, I suppose you could call it, and it was Unit 1, Hut 45, Area 2 of Victoria Park housing.
Those buildings were constructed by the US military during World War II and converted to housing by the Queensland government.
Not only was I, born and raised here my first few years of life, this is where I used to come past, and we used to go to Centenary Pool. All of us, we just walk around here.
There's evidence of Indigenous people at Barrambin long before colonisation. The park also has a dark history.
24 soldiers actually came here and shot up the camp, and both times they burnt the camp down. Lives were lost.
Many of the waterholes and other features of the natural environment are gone. There were plans to restore the area with a parkland development.
Revitalised waterholes and wetlands will restore natural cooling and draw native wildlife back to the city.
Instead, a 60,000-seat stadium will be built for the Olympic and Paralympic Games in 2032.
I was quite shattered at first, and I thought, what? Victoria Park? And I'm thinking, what the hell? And I was just sick.
With only 7 years to go until the Olympic and Paralympic Games are held here in Meanjin, Brisbane, it's highly unlikely that the decision to build the new stadium here at Victoria Park will be reversed, but it's hoped the cultural significance of this place won't be lost.
I don't think we've made enough of our Indigenous heritage in this state, and I do believe there is an amazing opportunity with tourism when we focus on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and the longest running continual culture on the planet.
I would like to have something there to talk about our history and our people that were living there beforehand, our ancestors.
A chance to weave First Nations culture into the biggest sporting event ever held in Brisbane. Michael Rennie, NITV News.
And here are the results of last week's web poll questions. Over on our website, we asked, do you feel your community is prepared for wildfire season? A majority of 66% said no, they are not ready. 19% said yes, and 15% said they were unsure. Next, we asked, should all universities in Canada provide free tuition for treaty peoples? A majority of you said yes at 62%, 27% said no, and 11% were unsure. And last week, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced his new cabinet, so we asked, what should the new federal cabinet focus on? All of the above was the popular answer at 67%, with safe drinking water, and the economy at 12%. Housing came in next at 7%, and 2% said energy projects. And our bonus fourth question we asked, should people be forced to sign a non-disclosure agreement when leaving a workplace under certain conditions? This was a follow-up from APTN's Christopher Reed's Investigate story, Unmuted. 69% said no, 16% voted yes, and 15% were not sure. A big thanks to everyone who voted. Our next set of questions will be up on aptnnews.ca later this week. Our Bruce Dela Cruz is up next with a report from the north. We'll be right back. Starting on the east, St. John's 4, Charlottetown 6. La Grande River, Sun and 6, Anujuak -2. Saguenay 7 and Sun, Quebec City 11. Peterborough 11, Toronto 12. Wawa 8, Sudbury 9. Sunny and God's Lake at 8, Churchill 8. Winnipeg 10, Gimli 9. 5 in Estevan, Saskatoon 8 and rain. Buffalo Narrows sunny and 8, Meadow Lake rainy and 8. Showers in northern Alberta, high level 17, Fort McMurray 12. Lethbridge 18, Medicine Hat 17. Penticton 17, Vancouver 14. 16 in Fort Nelson, Dease Lake 12. Whitehorse 15, Mayo 18. 23 in Fort Simpson, Trout Lake 17. Inuvik 5, Fort McPherson 5. 3 in Arviat, Whale Cove 4. And Iqaluit 2, Aglulik -4. Thanks for staying with us. Over to the Northwest Territories now. A First Nation man is taking to social media to find donations for his youth skateboarding project in Yellowknife. He shared his vision for the future of skateboarding in the North with APTN video journalist Bruce Dela Cruz.
Ow. Forrest Doctor, who was Yellowknife's Dene, takes care of his new baby boy Raven at his home in the community of Ndilo, just outside of Yellowknife. But when he's not busy being a dad, he likes to wind down by going for a ride. Not on a motorcycle or in a car, but on his board. An avid skater since he was 10 years old, Forrest says he took it up after being influenced by skate culture in the mid-90s.
So that's you?
That's me, yeah. I seen like a skateboard video in a magazine, and then I was just hooked. And that was it for me. I knew when I was 10 years old that like this is what I want to do, and I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life.
In between work and caring for his family, he still finds time to practice and taught us a few tricks at the local school in Ndilo. In 2021, he channeled his passion for the sport into creating a skateboard drive for youth, where he donates used boards to kids in his community. Forrest wanted to share his passion with the next generation and give them the same outlet that kept him out of trouble when he was their age.
It's kept me out of jail. I could say that 100%, like, kept me out of trouble, kept me out of jail. The majority of people that I was spending my time with and running around with before I started skating are either in jail or not here anymore, and it's pretty sad. And seeing kids running around, no direction, it's just a little disheartening. Like, I've sourced my own skateboard.
Since starting the drive, Forrest has managed to give away over 35 boards, with donations coming from as far as skate shops in Edmonton, Alberta.
I got some donations from Rumor Skate Shop down in Edmonton. Shout out to Rumor. And 9 Times Skateboard Shop as well. They've been a very big help.
Having, in his words, bled the town dry of skateboards, he's reaching out online and through the media to find more skateboard donors across the Northwest Territories and the rest of Canada.
I've been paying for a lot of them out of my own pocket, off the classifieds and stuff, and it's just not feasible.
He's also reaching out to promote his inaugural skateboard competition this summer. Named after his son and a discontinued Yellowknife festival from his youth, the Raven Mad Skate competition will allow kids to show off their skills and win prizes, including new boards and t-shirts. With the lack of permanent skateboarding infrastructure in Yellowknife, Forrest wants to find a spot for kids to skateboard during the winter this year and eventually set up a permanent skate park in Indilo.
What I'm doing here could help even one. Like, I've done what I've set out to do. So I just want to be remembered as just that skateboarder, right? I am a skateboarder. Remember me as a skateboarder.
Forrest says that he is absolutely stoked to be hosting the Raven Mad Day Skate Comp this summer on July 12th. Although he is still looking for lumber donations in order to build ramps and obstacles for the kids to do tricks on. Anyone that is willing to donate can contact him by email at forrestdoctor19@gmail.com. Bruce De La Cruz, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Cool story, Bruce. That's your daytime newscast for this Tuesday, May 20th. Our Dennis Ward is back for your evening newscast in a few hours. Please join us then. From our HQ in downtown Winnipeg and from our reporting staff from across the country, hi miigwech masicho kwana. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next day.